All right, hello guys and girls. Anyone who is interested in learning Powerclip, I have a brief course on this. I'm your instructor, 22 Power 22. This is going to be a very scuffed little no edits, no nothing, just a quick how-to that I wanted to make because I felt like there wasn't a really good resource out there yet. Um, I'm kind of assuming that you've watched Bladen's Into the Abyss 1 speedrun tutorial. If you have not, I'll link it in the description. Give that a watch first. It covers just how to do Into the Abyss 1 Titanless in general, and I'm kind of assuming you have some idea on the route on that. But then I'm assuming you have no idea what Powerclip is, and you only know the old out of bounds clip spot, or you don't know either. So we'll just get right into it. So what we're gonna cover power clip location. So there's two different spots, and then I'll just get through the rest as we go. So I guess starting off, right versus left clip spot. If I go over here, and feel free to skip through the tutorial to find what you need. This is gonna be a little scuffed. Okay, so there is two different spots you can clip if you're going for power clip. This is just a general approach. So you go around this corner as per usual, like you're doing the level. And then you have to build up some speed. We'll go over first cycle versus second cycle later. But basically, there's two different spots you can clip. You can either clip in this spot or this spot. These two spots over here, they do not work. You will get crushed by this platform. We have tried. Very unfortunate. But these two spots you can clip. There's a sort of a brief spot on this arch that has no collision that you can go up into and land in. And you can either wall run against the two walls that are sort of here or on the back end, or you can kind of do like a little nudge and crouch. It's a kind of an awkward place. I recommend, just getting into it and trying it. But basically, there's two different spots. This is the old clip location. As you can see, you kind of just lodge yourself into this little spot, and then the next platform that comes down will actually pull you right out into the out of bounds section, and you're free to move on this roof section. No one really uses the left spot anymore. If you want to just try it on your first few attempts, it might be easier to go in there, but overall, definitely go toward the right spot, which I have a clip of over here. So basically, same approach, get some speed. We'll go over the speed requirements later. But then this time, I'm just heading over to the right side of this, and then I get lodged in, and then I can get clipped out. We'll go over to get how this much speed later on. Bam. Okay. That is the right versus left clip spot. I recommend going for the right. It's basically just as easier and faster. Shout out Rippy for discovering it. All right, power clip approach, first cycle versus second cycle. So basically, as you saw, those platforms come down from behind you, pull you out of bounds. There is two sets of platforms. The first one is one that you have to have at least about 64 kph to get. Ideally, you want more, so then you can, take a little speed loss on your slide hops, take a little bit wider of a line, and still get in comfortably. But I think you can just barely squeeze it in at 64 if you take an absolute straight line and get into that spot. No shenanigans or silly business. Comfortably, I'd say aim for around 68 to 70 kph around the corner. But if you pull a frag like I prefer to do, you can round the corner at around only 50 kph, and as long as you get that plus 20 out of the frag, you can still make it in. All right, a good second cycle approach. So if I go here, open this up. Basically, let's say you try and get some speed, you try and get it, but oh no, you mess up a slide hop because you're bad. No need to fret. This much speed is not making it. Probably turn off before I do here. But basically, the platform will come down, you will miss it. I recommend getting over to this pipe. There's kind of two ways you can climb up. You can kind of do what I do, bail out to the right, try and avoid getting smacked down by the platform. Or if you're at the bottom, you can actually go to this section here and climb back up before the second cycle comes through, and it's no problem. The second cycle takes about 15 seconds in between. So if you miss this first one, you will have to spend 15 seconds waiting for the next one. So at that point, you can either decide to go to the old clip spot or you can decide to wait. I'm not going to definitively say one saves time over the other because it really depends on your ability to keep speed through the rest of the level using Powersurge and getting, lots of speed out of this clip. So I'm going to not definitively say one saves time over the other. It's kind of all right, how much did you bonk around the corner and how much speed can you comfortably keep out of it? So kind of just do it at your own discretion, and there isn't really like a golden rule of, oh, you should stay and do second power clip, or you should go and do the old spot. But basically, you just wait on this pipe, and then my cue that I use is waiting for the next platform to get part way down, and then you can sort of slide in. You can technically stay in this clip spot indefinitely. It's just kind of finicky and hard because your wall run runs out of time, and you kind of just get pushed out after a bit. It's something that's not near as nice as if you just wait on this pipe for this next platform to come. So I see the next platform coming, wait a little bit, then I just slide off this pipe. It's not terribly hard to set up. And once again, I'm just aiming for this section here that has no collision. I jump in, spam jumps to kind of stay in for a bit. Or if you connect to a wall run, you can kind of just stand there and then you'll get dragged out the same. All right, that is second cycle. So now, what else do we have to go over? Out of bounds triggers, that is a good thing to go over. So now I am going to bring up the game. Actually, I'll show you the triggers first. I realize I do not have them pulled in as a source. Okay, I'll just show them in the game. We're going to go over here. Bam. And I'm going to resume. There are 2 triggers after you clip out. You make your way across this gap, and this will make more sense with more film later. But there's going to be 2 triggers that you absolutely need to hit to complete the level and have that button be green instead of red. If you come over here, there is a few things to note. There's an invisible wall here that you can bonk up into, so you'll have to duck under that. And then the trigger resides right here for the first one. It's about at the end of this line here, so you have to be left of this. And it is about halfway up this vertical line here. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't die there. Oops. Whatever. For those of you who have not seen, you can in fact die to that thing there if you go too far over. So that's another thing to consider if you're not going to the death plane. But basically you slide over this gap. There is a gap, you can fall down. You hit the trigger, which is about at this line here, halfway up. So you have to go low enough to hit this, and it has to be within this. So if you are over here, you're not going to hit it. You have to go down and hit right there. And then there's this rock here, which we will talk about a little bit later. You hit this trigger, you're good. And then there's this other trigger that if you've watched the Blade tutorial like you should know is right here. And the way to know that you've hit both is an audio change. So I'm going to shut up here and let you listen for a change in the music that occurs when I hit this. The little doom as the audio changes means I have hit both triggers and I am free to progress the rest of the level with no problemos. All right. The next thing we'll go over is kind of all right, so now you know the triggers, first cycle, second cycle, how to get into that spot. Now we're going to go over a Powersurge setup. So basically, how do you get that 140, 150 kph surge out that everyone loves to get? We're going to go over to this here. And bam. Okay. This is from my most recent PB. We are going to play it. So basically, you have the speed, right? You jump over into this gap. What I like to do is grab the wall on the right in the inside, or you kind of, and then let go of it, or if you just sort of lodge in like this, and you want to lodge yourself into the front rightmost corner the best you can. So I've done that here. And then you want to aim. There's this little peak in the mountain in this small little rock formation. I like to call it the mountain because it kind of looks like a mountain on the horizon. There's a peak of it, and then it kind of goes back down. I like to aim my crosshair, and you can use the Mozambique, you can use the kind of center of the EVA 8. Of course, it's going to look a little different, or the flatline, or whatever other gun you have. And I like to aim the very center of my screen to the very center of this. You can give a little bit of wiggle room on each side, but it really isn't a lot, and it's not very forgiving. If you look too far right, you have the potential to die for no other reason than it's funny. If you look too far to the left, you're not going to actually get the surge of speed. So I look right in the middle here, and then you're going to get an initial speed boost. I'm going to play that back frame by frame so that way you can see this. The platform will take you, and it will very quickly speed you up on that first 4 frames. Do not jump yet. You do basically neutral inputs. So if you're on KBM, you can do WAD, lurchless. You want to be neutral inputs. You also want to be moving forward and sprinting forward here. You can't see it on my controller overlay because I'm technically holding W here. But you want to be moving forward and sprinting forward. If you have auto sprint, that works. If you have a sprint key, you want to be sprinting. And then on the second surge of speed, which will take a second to actually go through, as you can see, this is a few frames later, you'll get a second giant speed boost. This is when you want to jump. This should be relatively, comfortable as far as the timing. It's about 0.25 seconds, if I have to say. So it's less, it's a lot more forgiving than like a wall kick. You just have to know when to jump. And it's on that second speed boost. And then after you get this, that's when you can jump and keep some of that speed. So as you can see, there's multiple frames where I am at over 140 that I can then jump, and I keep 150 out of this spot. And then from there on, you have to lurch this speed to the right. If you're on controller and not on PC, I'm sorry, I don't think there's current way to keep the Powersurge speeds out. You could try a diagonal double jump, maybe, but you're probably going to just end up flying into some invisible geo in front and not have a good time. So I'd recommend just not doing the Powersurge setup and rolling with the punches. So after this, you strafe over. You can strafe a lot better than I do here. I kept a decent amount of speed. There is an invisible wall on the left there that I do bunk into. If you just wall bump onto it, you don't lose too much, so it's not terrible. But the core of the power setup or the Powersurge setup is to look in right at the little peak, hold forward / neutral, side inputs, and then jump on the second surge of speed. That is how you get it. You can strafe out, you can do whatever you like after. Now we're going to go over a quick, I believe the next thing on the syllabus, let me double check, is going to be, yes, the Meth-Lab Transition. There is a variety of ways that you can go about your Meth-Lab Transition. I'm going to go quick back to the gameplay. I'm going to show kind of progressively harder ways to go about it. I'm not going to go over every way. There's actually like 1,000 different ways you can go about hitting this. The Meth-Lab Transition is going to be hitting that first trigger of the 2 that you need to hit. So I'm going to go back to gameplay. Bam. We're going to go from this save. And I'm going to head on over there. I bonk. Oh no. Perfect. So the first way to transition over, let me get my slide boost back, is going to be, oh no, I bonk speed on this. I just need to get through. You can literally just slide down onto this, hit the trigger like you usually do, and then jump up and transition like you're gonna go through the old out of bounds. That is infallible. You're gonna hit the trigger every time. You're gonna hit both triggers. You're gonna progress the level. No real need for concern. Now, actual good Meth-Lab transitions where we will go over There's going to be two main ways to do it. Both involve that little rock. Let me go back over to it. So I do not have Fulbright on. I apologize. And I die again because I'm a chud. All right, we'll just pull it up on the film. Okay. So the first way to go about this, and I'll show this here, is basically you go to that black rock that's in the void. You want to take an extended slide prior to these boxes. I should have said this earlier, but these boxes do have collision. They have a slight height to them. So you're going to have to jump over the top of these boxes in order to not bonk on the side of them. You actually saw me do it earlier where I accidentally bonked the side of one of these boxes. They do have collision. So you take an extended slide right before. You jump. So basically you time this where you're sliding still under the invisible wall, but you're not hitting any of the geo underneath your feet here. You're just flying right over it. And then what you want to do is basically I just take a wall bump on this rock and I get redirected up and to the right where I want to make it to this rock ledge over here. I don't keep all my speed, but I keep enough to make me happy and move on. And it's decently comfortable. You want to make sure, once again, you're getting low enough to hit that trigger. It's only about halfway up, so your feet need to be low enough to touch. And then I'll show you a little bit of a more put together. This is Tilaly's world record tie. So this is a little bit more of a put together Meth-Lab transition and a bit of a full picture. So once again, going the regular Titanless strat, gets a good kick, gets a good tap strafe around this, takes the approach. Feel free to slow down on your approach into the Powerclip waiting spot. You don't need the full like 90 if you have it around the corner. I recommend taking an extended slide here just so that we don't slam in and immediately fall out. But it's kind of just what's comfortable for you. I find 70 to 80 being really comfortable, so that's what I aim for each time. Once again, get in the spot. Tilaly looks slightly further right. It's okay. I think it's safer to probably look slightly further left here, but obviously no problem. Gets the good tap strafes over, keeps a lot of that speed, gets a double jump immediately, and then just single jumps off of this, takes that extended slide before these little boxes. Optional frag pull to keep some speed after this. She's also going for a wall bump here. Wall bumps that rock. Once again, keeps about 60. Just drop behind frag to get more speed. Incredible. So that's kind of the Meth-Lab transition. That's how to hit both the first trigger and keep speed around those rocks. And then I'm going to show one last thing. Finally, if we go here, this is the best way to keep speed through the Meth-Lab if you're good enough. I think that the wall bump is a lot more accessible and comfortable, but if you want to keep even more speed, what you can also go for is this is Xeno's gameplay. Once again, Powersurge, standard stuff, tap strafe over or spam strafe. Once again, kind of depending on your comfort level. I'm not going to preach one over the other. For double jump, takes the extended slide, has a little bit more speed, so he's jumping a little bit earlier to get clear of these. Falls into that gap, and then instead of, well, let's play this again. Instead of going for a wall bump, you basically just try and wall kick in the same spot. You have to, as you can see here, he uncrouches after he goes through. So that way, even though he's going 113 kph, his legs slightly dip down into this trigger that, once again, is about here as far as height. So his legs dip down just enough to touch that trigger, and then he gets that kick and gets redirected over with 95 kph. So if you're feeling yourself, if you feel like, okay, the wall bump isn't that bad, or if your wall kicks are super comfortable, you can go for that. But a lot of it, honestly, isn't as much the timing of this kick. It's a lot more this extended slide and the approach, which is going to be different each time depending on how well you strafe out of the Powersurge. And then getting over these two boxes in and down deep enough to hit the trigger, is going to be by far the hardest part. And he also is double jumping right before this wall kick. So it's just a bunch of inputs, but it has the potential to keep a lot more speed. Once again, goes down to hit that second trigger, and then can turn on and keep tons and tons of speed. All right. That is going to be it. I mean, feel free to let me know of any questions. I know this probably isn't the most, I don't know, the most well organized tutorial. It's kind of just me throwing all my thoughts out. But I think it's cool to kind of have more of a lecture style tutorial every now and then. So feel free to reach out to me on Discord, DM me, leave me a comment. I'm happy to help people learn this stuff. So thanks for watching, and yeah, see ya.